How you doing today, guys? This is Alex Gomez, your favorite teacher in the whole world. Today we're gonna do the test that we took this week. It's Common Assessment 2, and we went over equations and inequalities, and this was the first questions. A taxi cab costs $1.50 for the first mile and 75 cents for each additional mile. So we gotta underline what we know and circle what we don't know. So in this case, we know that the first thing that he's gonna pay is 150, and each mile is 75 cents, and you can see that by this word right here, each mile. So which equation can be solved to find how many miles you can travel in a taxi for 10 miles? What is X? The number of additional miles. So we're looking for the number of miles, and we know by what we learned that whenever the variable goes with the letter each. Okay, we also know how much he spent, and the total that he spent was how much? $10. So something equals to $10. Everybody agree? Okay. So now we said the variable goes with the word each. What is with the word each? If you look at the number next to the word each is 0.75x. So 75 cents per mile. And you have to pay the fee, the flare, or whatever they call it, for $1.50. So which one looks like that? Not A, because 75 cents has to be with the X. So we can eliminate A and C, and we're only a matter of knowing that the $1.50 you have to pay no matter what. So you have to add that to the total. Any questions on that one? The next one, we have solve 0.3x minus 2.16 equals to 9.99. So we have an equations with decimal, and you can take that in different approaches. You can solve it regularly, but what I'm going to do is convert all of those to whole numbers. How do I do that? Well, if I got 0.3x minus 2.16 equals to 9.9, I got to look at the place values that my decimals are in. So in this case, give me 1 second. In this case, the 0.3 is in a tens place, the 2.16 is in a hundreds place, and the 9.9 is on the tens place. So I can just multiply this whole thing by 100. And when I multiply by 100, literally all it means is that I'm moving the decimal how many places? 2. So if I move twice over here, it'll be 30x minus 216 equals to 990. Everybody agree? Now we can solve for this. The first thing that we're going to take away, it'll be the minus right here. So in order to undo this, you have to add 216, and what I do to one side, I must do it to the other side. So this will be 6. So it'll be 990 plus 216, which gives me 1,206. And I'm left with 30x. Now you can draw this line if you want to. Now my next step, it'll be to divide by 30. So I have to divide by 30 on the other side as well. This cancels out, and I'm left with the x equals to 40.2. Now this will be TiVo, top and bottom out. So 1206 goes inside, 30 goes outside. So it'll be 40.2. That means that you have to add a decimal, a 0, and bring it down. I'm not going to go over that because we already know how to divide. So my answer was A. Any questions on that one? Next one, number 3. Juan Barras, we had another word problem, but in this case it's an inequality. So we have to do the inequality the same way we do an equation. And we do that by reading the problem, underlining, and circling. I'll be right there. Okay. So Juan bought a soda for $2, and he also bought some nachos for $3 each. $3 each. Remember, when we have the word each, That's where the variable goes. That's the X. So we also know that he bought a soda. Now, Juan did not spend no more than. No more than. That's the same thing as no more than. I know these two words, they're separated by the word spend, but the whole thing is that. So what sign are we using? Is the one with the open circle or closed circle? Open. Open? Open is not included. Did he spend more than 14? Could have he spent less? Could he spend the whole $14? So it's 14 or less. So I'm using this sign. So he cannot spend more than 14. So I can immediately eliminate A and C. Now I know the 3 each, it'll be the same as 3x, which, or in this case, n. 3n. So which one has that? It's B. It has to be B. So it'll be $3 per nachos plus the $2 for the soda. It has to be less than or equals to 14. Any questions on that one? Okay, number 4. Which graph represents the solution for the inequality? So we had an inequality, we have to solve for it and then see which graph goes with that one. So let's start by looking at the sign. This sign and this sign is an open circle, and we should know that. And this sign is a closed circle. So are we having a closed or open circle? Open. So that means that C and D is not one of my answer choices. So all I have to do now is solve for N. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take away the 5 on both sides. Everybody agree? Okay, so that cancels out and we have two negatives. Same signs, we add them, but we're going to keep the sign. So it's going to be 9, but it's going to be negative. And then we have negative 3n. And my last step is going to be to undo that multiplication by dividing by negative 3 on both sides. That cancels out. So n, and on the other side is going to be negative and negative. It's going to make a positive, so it'll be 3. 3 goes into 9 3 times. Now, the thing that I needed you to remember, and is one of the questions I had, is that whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number, the sign, if it goes like this, you have to flip it. So in this case, if instead of going to the left, now I have to go to the right. Is that correct? So my sign is going to be to the right, so my only answer choice was A. Any questions on that one? You have to remember that whenever you divide or multiply by a negative number on the last step, you have to flip the sign. Now, we have another inequality. We just have to solve it or substitute the values in. Now, look at this. We have this sign. It's less than or equal, right? C is not an inequality sign. That's just an equal sign. So it could have been C. And D is also, it's actually the same thing as that because they just flipped it. So C and D is not an option. Now, if you look at this, is that multiplying or dividing? Multiplying. Is 6 negative? No. So that means that the sign has to stay the same. It's not going to flip, right? So I'm thinking my answer is going to be A. Why A? Because I have a negative and a positive at the end, but let's find out. Maybe it's not A. So the first thing that we're going to get rid of, it'll be the 4. So we're going to subtract 4 on both sides. So that's going to give me, that cancels out again. Just like on this problem, we had two negatives, so we had to add them and keep the sign. So 2 and 4 is going to be 6, and since both of them are negatives, it stays negative. It's like having a number line, and you start at negative 2, and if you add negative 4, that means that you have to move to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. 0 is somewhere over here, so this is negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, so you landed at negative 6. Okay? Now, so you're left with 6t, inequality sign. The last step is to divide by 6 on both sides. So that cancels out. So t is less than or equal to -1. Why negative? Because I have a positive and a negative, and it makes a negative. So my answer was indeed A. Now, why didn't I flip the sign? Because I did not divide by a negative number. Any questions so far? Okay, we have 4 more. Number 6, what happens when you multiply or divide by a negative number? You flip the sign to the opposite side. Some of you picked that one, which is not it. That has nothing to do with that. I was talking, and I mentioned this, I don't know how many times in the classroom. When you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to flip the sign. Now, number 7, you have this. You have to write the equation, and then, what is the solution? That means that you needed to solve for x. So how many x's do I have in here? 3 x's plus 4 equals to 13. Everybody agree? Now, subtract 4 on both sides. Cancels out, so this is going to be 9. And this is 3x. My last step is what? What is the 3? You got to divide by 3 on both sides. That's correct. That cancels out, so x equals to 3. Now, the key part right here is knowing how to bubble. 3 does not go here. It does not go here either. It does not go here. The 3 goes right here. And it's positive, so you can just leave it like that. So if you put the 3 in any other place, you got it wrong. It's not a decimal. Decimals go right here. Stop talking. Any questions so far? Hey, questions so far? Number 8, which problem situation could be the equation below represent? Okay, so we have, again, that has to go with the variable, so we're looking for the word every, each, and then this is the total. So let's look at this. A total of, that one has the total. A total of, total of, total of. Everything has the total. So let's see. A, John spent a total of $15.75 on 1 pumpkin and 7 grouts. If the cost of a pumpkin is $5, what is G? So it's $5 for the pumpkin. What is G plus 7G? Is that my equation? No, because this is the 5G. So it's not A. Let's look at the other one again. Equals to 15.75. 1 pumpkin and 5 grouts. If the cost of the pumpkin is $7, how much he spent on each for 2 pumpkins? Now it makes no sense, right? So it can't be that one. So now, John spent again equals 15.75. Everybody agree? Says 1 pumpkin and 5 grouts. If the cost of the pumpkin costs $7 and each grout is the same, so 5G plus the $7 for the pumpkin should give you that. Is that my equation? Yeah, so my answer had to be that one. It's the same thing. You can just rewrite this. And I showed you this, I don't know how many times. As long as you keep the signs consistent, it'll be the same. Now, Ivan and his classmate placed color books on a scale during science lab. Each blue book weighed 0.94 pounds. And the brown block weighed 0.37 How much more did the blue block weigh than the... So we're subtracting. So we had 0.94 minus, line up your decimals like that. So this is a 7 and this is a 5. Sorry. I said 7 but wrote down 5. So it's a 7 and this is 5. 0. Bring your decimal down. So your answer was 0.57. If you did not write it like that, you got it wrong. Any questions so far? Last one. Hey, Colette bought 86.43 ounces of flour, and she used to each biscuit, so we had to divide 4.7. So whenever you divided that, so you have 86.43 divided by 4.7, you get an answer of 18.389, so forth, so on. So the closest answer was C. Any questions on that one? Well, that's it for today, guys. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.